Gone are the days when Nigeria's local football league enjoys massive followership from Nigerians. European football leagues, especially the English Premier League clubs, have more fans in Nigeria than the UK. Only few Nigerians are aware of the local league, and this has made it unattractive. What is responsible for these, and how can this trend be reversed? A veteran sport journalist will attempt to answer these questions on Panorama today. Good afternoon. My name is Abdullahi Mohammed. We shall be right back. Stay tuned. On to the news of the day. Now, the Progressive Governors Forum has appealed to Nigerians to show more understanding, support and cooperation as the Buhari administration strives towards meeting genuine national aspirations for a better and prosperous Nigeria. Chairman of the forum and Governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, who made the appeal after a closed-door meeting with President Muhammad Buhari, said there are glaring signs for this. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
The APC governors, under the auspices of the Progressive Governors Forum, were in the State House to formally congratulate President Muhammad Buhari on the successes recorded so far in the fight against corruption, the food sufficiency program, and the release of the abducted Chibok schoolgirls.
And we say whatever was the action taken to bring back these girls, let the same action be repeated so the rest of the girls can come back. And again, we came to report to Mr. President that his agricultural policy and program is yielding results. This time around, we have bumper harvests in most part of the country, in rice production and other things. So that policy should be sustained. And the funding policy from CBN, like Anchor years to come now, Nigeria will be self-sufficient in agriculture and may not need to import any more food products into this country.
The meeting between the governors and the president also discussed the prevailing hardship being faced by Nigerians as a result of the nation's economic predicament, as well as efforts being made to make things better in the country.
We share the feelings of Nigerians, seriously, but we're asking to be a little patient. Let's do this the right way and do it once and for all. And it will get over. And I'm sure by next year, you begin to see changes. Price of rice will drop. Price of dollars will begin to stabilize. And we'll see a lot of changes. But at this painful moment, nobody likes it. So Nigerians should bear with us as a government. This was not a problem brought by APC government. It's been a problem that has existed long before APC come to government. But we're promising Nigerians that we shall fix it.
The APC governors used the forum to assure President Muhammadu Buhari of their unity of purpose in not only supporting the implementation of the change agenda, but also in delivering Ondo State to the APC in the forthcoming governorship election.
Consultations is heavy on ground, and at the end of the day, we promise you as an APC family, we will all come together again and then move into Ondo to deliver Ondo for APC.
Edo State Governor Adams Oshomole also interacted separately with President Muhammadu Buhari, where issues relating to the development of the state were discussed.
We also invited him to the state to come and see some of the things we've done, not just in Benin City, but across the 3 senatorial districts, to deal with those critical infrastructure which have made a difference in the quality of life of Edo people. Yes. They are outstanding projects that I believe deserve presidential commissioning.
Governor Oshomole, who is still basking in the euphoria of his party's victory, that the winner of the election, Gordon Obaseki, will take the state to greater heights. From the State House,
Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo said the present administration will in the next few years continue to actively pursue massive manufacturing and production of goods, stressing that the federal government will ally with investors who can facilitate the plan. The vice president was speaking at a meeting with a local motor manufacturing company and Chinese investors. Gideon Ufadi reports.
Action, as the saying goes, speaks louder than words. The Vice President's appearance at the meeting gives credence to the Buhari administration's focus on made in Nigerian goods. As he explained, it's because of the administration's commitment to spur manufacturing and local production in the country. And while commenting on the partnership between Innocent Group and the Chinese, Vice President Osinbajo said the partnership is being addressed as a strategic collaboration. The of the delegation and chairman of the Innocent Group, Innocent Chukuma, said the Chinese firms have decided to invest about $1 billion in the Nigerian economy within the next 12 to 24 months. Meanwhile, Governor Adams Oshomole of Edo State says the presence of royal fathers from across the country at the coronation of the new Oba of Benin was a testimony that Nigeria will remain an indivisible entity. He says this shortly after visiting the vice president.
I think that royal handshake, bonding, for me shows that at that level of leadership, Nigeria is one, and we are committed to one indivisible Nigerians, and those royal fathers have led us by example.
In the State House, Jide Onifade, NT News.
And away from the State House now, Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu has called for parliamentary partnership between Nigeria and the United States through staff development and exchange programs. Wazir Zayanu reports that the Deputy Senate President was speaking when he received representatives of the United States National Democratic Institute.
The Deputy Senate President thanked representatives of the Institute for coming to explore partnership with Nigeria, which he described as a front line of democracy in Africa.
For us in the Parliament, we have a great need for partnership with so many parliamentary organizations, because ours is just a nascent democracy.
Director of the National Democratic Institute said constituency project is one major area they will very much want to compare notes on.
The purpose is really to explore whether such a partnership makes sense with the NAS, hear a little bit about the vision of the Senate, yourself, and the Senate President about the direction.
Its commitment towards strengthening effective and affordable health care for all Nigerians.
We will go take a statewide tour to ascertain the usage of these funds.
From the National Assembly, Waziri Zayanu, NTA News.
The judiciary now, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Mahmood Mohammed, has reiterated the ability of the nation's judiciary to deal with all its problems as led by the Constitution. He was speaking at the unveiling of the National Judicial Policy, which took place at the National Judicial Institute in Abuja. Femi Okewo reports.
Visions of the National Judicial Policy are not completely new to the dispensation of justice in Nigeria. But the idea of the policy is to give a holistic and uniform direction to the various guides that have for long existed. This is why Chief Justice of Nigeria, while unveiling the policy, said there was enough within the nation's judicial system to tackle any act that may seem to stall the proper dispensation of justice.
We could not ignore the fact that today we are faced with misguided impression as to the operation of our judiciary, while its more laudable qualities and achievements are arcane to some fellow Nigerians. This is why the National Judicial Policy contains clear provisions restating the judiciary's commitment to transparency and accountability.
Former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Dahiru Mustafa, who chaired the session, former Chairman of ICPC, Justice Emmanuel Ayola, and the Secretary of the National Judicial Council, Danladi Halilu, all spoke about the timeliness of the National Judicial Policy. A Judicial Ethics Committee under the chairmanship of former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Idris Kutigi, was also inaugurated. The 30-page National Judicial Policy is yet another veritable tool for the nation's judiciary to carry out its responsibilities effectively. And there's no better time than now for an effective and forthright implementation of its provisions. From the National Judicial Institute, Femi Okewo, NTA News.
Forum of non-governmental organizations want judges and justices involved in the recent corruption allegations to step down from office until they clear themselves. At a press conference, the forum noted that even though the arrested judges and justices have not been declared guilty, their image appears to be tainted in the eyes of the public. Joseph Orok has details.
operations by the Departments of State Services resulting in the arrest of judges and justices for alleged corrupt practices have continued to dominate public discourse. The forum, in their reaction, promised to mobilize Nigerians to protest in their courts premises until they step down. Noting that the war against corruption is not President Muhammadu Buhari's or any political party's battle, the forum promised to embark on a peaceful demonstration in support of ridding the judiciary of bad eggs.
And we call on all our citizens not to allow themselves to be misled by those who have constituted themselves into a stubborn bloc against this war. We urge the federal government to continue to take the lead in the prosecution of the battle against corruption in the judiciary in particular, and the corruption in the polity in general.
They expressed reservations with the position taken by the National Judicial Council and the Nigerian Bar Association and urged Nigerians not to allow themselves to be distracted by the comments of the concerned judicial officers. Joseph Orok, NTN.
Road transport matters now.
About 3 months have been disrupted as passengers and other road users spend more hours on the road.
We have been facing a hell of a problem on this road.
Before you could get to Berger from here, you have to spend not less than 1 hour 30 minutes. A journey of 3 minutes.
Sometimes we stay over the night on this road.
You know, coming from the back, you have 5 lanes. When we get here, it's only 2 lanes, and most times there's a broken down truck or something on 1 lane, so it narrows down to 1 lane, and it's really, really bad.
Officials of the construction company work day and night. However, there are some reckless drivers who drive against traffic, posing great danger to other road users. These traffic offenders perpetuate their illegal act with reckless abandon to the dismay of officials of the Federal Road Safety Corps.
This year alone, about 57 of our personnel have been physically assaulted, knocked down, killed, maimed. Some are confined to wheelchair for the rest of their lives. Some are dead. 57, that's the highest I've recorded in the last 2 years. And it's on wanton, brazen assaults being meted onto our personnel. It saddens me, like I've reported to the government. And I think the government is working on this.
The Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps, who is not happy with the development, told NTA News that arrangements have been concluded by the FRSC to decisively deal with traffic offenders.
Whatever it takes, I will seek justice for my personnel. It becomes my own responsibility to ensure that I provide a cover for them. And that one, I've assured them I will do whatever it takes.
He have appealed to Nigerians to be patient with government to ensure that the road is fixed in good time and safe for all. In Lagos, Amechi Pius, NTA News.
Many thanks, Amechi. I'm now being joined by veteran sports journalist Effiong Nyong to discuss the Nigeria Local League and followership. Thank you for joining us.
It's a great pleasure to be here
this afternoon.
Yes.
I just want to start by asking you to looking at the Nigeria Football League. It used to be very vibrant in those days and also very lucrative. I remember back those days when we were in primary school, even a mate can takes analysis of the league. In fact, what remains in my head is he used to talk about Adamasingba Stadium. You understand? It used to be very, very popular, but now it's no more. What happened?
Well, I think it's a two-way thing. First, we need to look at the Nigerian media. At the time, what was the exposure level of Nigerians to what football was played outside the country? I recall those days as well that the only football that we had to see from outside was probably during the World Cup and during the Cup of Nations tournaments when the Nigerian national team was playing. The other window that was open was through Shoot magazine, where those of us who were into sports inclined, who were sports inclined at the time, buy to read about what was going on elsewhere. Everything about the Nigerian media and sports was related to the sport that was local. So it is what the people are faced with, it's what they are given that they consume. So the Nigerian media today has shifted attention. If you look at the print and electronic media, even the new media, all of the media platforms are open to showing Nigerians more of what happens outside. And the sport that is going on locally are rarely given that same opportunity. And that's why you hardly would see people talk about the local league. Now, I can also tell you that so much has happened in the last 5-10 years of the Nigerian league, from the time of Oyike or Baseki as the chairman of the league, Nigerian National League, to the days of the immediate past chairman Lukai Rabo, and now Shehu Diko. Okay. They are doing quite a whole lot of work that have improved the league, but there's still the absence largely of the Nigerian media. Now, the only media that gets to show Nigerians what goes on the sporting field, particularly football, is the foreign going on every day. There's grassroots tournament in Ajegunle, the Mock Nations Cup. It goes on there every year. At this time, by this weekend, there will be the Oracle competition on the 15th at the National Stadium, the Legacy pitch. At the University of Lagos pitch, football matches are played every week. You go to Abete, go to all the grassroots grounds around the country, in Lagos particularly. Boys are playing football. Competitions are being organized. Abeson tournament is there, but our television stations are not packaging this content. So for Nigerians to embrace the local league, for Nigerians to embrace local sport, the media houses owe it a responsibility to make provision for the coverage and packaging of this content for broadcast.
But don't you think, that has to come with a sponsorship, or are you, totally blaming the media for this?
Well, I think the media carries a lot of the blame, because I am part of the media, and I know that as a media person, what do we put as our news content? For instance, you look at a national or an international Nigerian network platform, they tell you that are now into sports. And they reported in the sports segment. What you hear is Manchester City or Jose Mourinho was dropped at Chelsea. On that same day, the Governors' Cup tennis tournament took place in Lagos. And there's no coverage of the Governors' Cup. What you hear, and let me also tell you something that happened 2 years ago. It was the Federations Cup final, the Nigerian Challenge Cup. That same day, Liverpool was playing a match in the English Premier League. Now, I would have expected when we were growing up, the Nigerian Challenge Cup, as it was known then, was the biggest tournament in the country. A competition that started in 1945 as the Governors' Cup. You get? It used to be our biggest tournament. The Bendel Insurance, Rangers International, Raka Rovers, Mighty Jets. This was the competition. And all the big stars of the days of yore were thrown up and thrown forward by that. But on that same day, league competition that was going on in England, and an FA Cup final was going on in Nigeria. And where the man in the studio once in a while will call on the guy on the ground. The man will say, "Oh, the match is on, no scores yet. Over back to you in the studio." And the man hooks on back to the foreign sport that was going on. It never happened in those days. So that's why the media remains where I will put the blame, especially the leading media, like the platform that we are on, permit me, with all due respect to all concerned. Now, when we begin to show sport that is foreign, when local TV stations begin to pay broadcast rights to showcase foreign football, and those local stations are not ready to pay broadcast rights to show local football, what do you expect?
Now we have found ourselves, where even if you go to, villages in Nigeria, you find, young boys there who will be able to analyze, foreign leagues, especially the English and the Spanish leagues. What's the implication? What impact is this going to have on where we are?
Well, it shows. Well, firstly, it makes people think less of the environment. It makes them think less of what's going on around them. For those practitioners, for those boys that are playing football here in Nigeria, it takes away their focus from whatever is happening around their locality and around Nigeria. They want to play abroad because they also want to be seen on television. But if, for instance, they know that we will play at the Ahmadu Bello Stadium, for instance, television will be there. Everybody will congratulate me. I'll be seen and talked about. I'll be made stars. I'll become a star. Then they will want to play here. Now let's also look at it as a function of making of stars. Why do people not go to watch our local games? The answer is simple. Where are the stars? People will always go to see the stars. We use our local networks to make superstars of people that do not even know that we exist. Whereas the boys and girls that we should be celebrating and make stars, we do not even mention, not to talk of celebrating them. In those days when the only thing we listened to majorly was radio. Everybody, Segun Odebagami was made a star through radio. Henry Nwosu was made a star through radio because Nigerians were listening to football commentaries. There are no football commentaries don't exist anymore on Nigerian radio. What you have is packaged foreign commentary that Nigerians pay rights for to hook onto. So I think this is where, for instance, in putting all of this in perspective, the National Broadcasting Commission should begin to act. It shouldn't act only when some music is played and they tell you that some language is vulgar or some parts of the body are exposed. That's the only time you hear that the National Broadcasting Commission is coming to say what happens to the ratio of what we should be showing, what happens to the issues of content. Because if media organizations, private radio and TV stations are compelled to show a certain percentage of programming that should be locally based, a certain percentage of sport that should be locally produced and packaged, then they will empower those that are producing the content. Then they'll pay for content, and it will not be that you finish producing the content, you do the packaging, and you take it to a TV station, they tell you, you have to pay this before we can show it. Meanwhile, those same organizations are hooking onto and using content that they get from the internet free.
Then how possible is it to change this perception that has gone to the grassroots, and how do we go about that?
Simple. Our media policies should change. Media organizations, they are their staff to produce content. If they are not able to produce the content in-house, they should engage professionals that are able to package this content for broadcast, and also ensure that they pay them. It is in this climate because it's not paying. Because if you produce day and night, a lot of media organizations do not pay their staff, and when you do not pay people that are working day in day out producing and building content, how will they work? So all of this has to be put together, and it has to be managed by the National Broadcasting Commission. And I think with that, we should be able to have a way out.
Thank you very much for
coming
on this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a short break now. Panorama returns shortly. Stay with us.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
You're still on to Panorama this afternoon from the Lagos Network Center. We will take stories from sports with Kene Emabadike.
Celebrations continue in South Africa